Are you kidding? And so in 2 weeks, he hadn't been lifting weights, he hadn't touched the weights, and perhaps was not eating in a calorie surplus. He's standing like this after only a couple weeks of training, and he does appear to have some muscle. And so perhaps he just has amazing genetics for putting on muscle. He started off very thin, not a lot of muscle, but once he goes to the gym and starts working out, the muscles, they just get built faster than last time. And so as he stands there, he does not appear to have a small waist. The shoulders don't appear to be very broad. He seems to have an average looking physique. And going to the back does appear to be a bit more impressive. The starting point from the front didn't have a lot of muscle, but from the rear, he does in fact have more muscle than last time. I'm not talking about a guy who went through puberty. He wasn't 12 going on to 15. He wasn't 12 going on to 21. And so does anyone actually believe that this guy is natural? Let's look at the best chart in the world for predicting muscle growth. The real journey of natural muscle gains. And so in year 1, if you have great genetics, you can expect to gain somewhere between 8 and 12 pounds of muscle. Year 2, 6 to 8, and year 3, 4 to 6. And so let's assume he has really good genetics, which clearly he does. Now remember, if he has beyond great genetics, elite level genetics, perhaps 1 in a million genetics, it is in fact possible. But does this guy have the 1 in a million genetics? And so what we want to see is, are there signs that the guy's on steroids? Does he in fact have a lot of acne? Looking at the back, does he have a lot of back acne? I don't see any. Doesn't have any acne whatsoever, and so this is a point in his favor. But does he have any gyno? Gynecomastia is caused from testosterone being converted to estrogen, and what you can see is a gland around the nipple. And so let's examine the nipple area. And so what better way than to pull over the stringer and see, does he have any gynecomastia around the nipple? And so if we zoom in closer than last time, you can clearly see an indentation surrounding the nipple. That is known as gyno. And so he clearly has gyno in this photo. And so if somebody is looking at his physique and is saying, do you think this guy's natural? Well, this goes against him. Having gyno, it can be possible that it's from puberty. Perhaps 3 to 5% of teenagers are going to get this despite not having taken testosterone. When you go through puberty, you obviously have a surge of testosterone. This testosterone can convert to estrogen, and so you can in fact get gyno. And so just because you have gyno, it doesn't guarantee that you're on testosterone. But the chances are higher than last time. Well, I'm going to have to go with this guy is not natural. The shoulders combined with the chest, combined with the striations, the definition, makes his physique seem hard to believe that it's natural. Now remember, when you're trying to put on muscle, what have I always said? Try to stay at an ideal body fat percentage for you. And for most people, it's probably around 12 to 15% body fat. And so if you're at single digit body fat and you try to gain from there, it's going to be significantly harder to put on muscle. I'm not saying it's impossible, but if you're natural, it's going to be harder than last time. But if he were enhanced, that would certainly make it a lot easier. You can clearly see a ring around the nipples. You can see the gyno. Although he doesn't have any acne whatsoever, he definitely has gyno. I hated being skinny, so I dedicated myself every single day. 19 months later, I mean, you saw it with your own eyes. In 19 months, that's 1 year and 7 months, he went from being a skinny guy, he seemed to have some abs, to having a ton of muscle. It's very obvious. It's as if he put 17 years of training in only a matter of 17 months. To me, this is indicative of a guy who is using performance-enhancing drugs. Even with Turk Builder and GO2 Max, I don't think this is a normal transformation, even for a guy with amazing genetics. This is far superior. This is a 1 in a million transformation. And so, is it possible that he's natural? Well, it's possible. There's 1 in a million chance. There's almost anything's possible. But what is more likely? If you had to bet your last dollar if this guy is natural or if he's not, I certainly think you're going to to bet he's not natural. He just joined the gym, and considering this guy has great genetics, I do expect him to be able to put on a lot of muscle and get leaner at the same time. But the amount of transformation that he made, truly unbelievable. I personally don't believe it. If he were on steroids, for the most part, if you were to take steroids and or SARMs and make this kind of transformation, it would still be very impressive. And so even with steroids, this kind of transformation, this kind of physique is very rare. Are you kidding? And so in 2 weeks, look at the changes he made in the first 2 weeks. Did he in fact hop on steroids and or SARMs at day one of his training? It is of course possible. He's taken a before photo. He's saying, look at me. I'm going to make a transformation. 2 weeks later, he's got his first progress photo and it looks as if he's put on 10 pounds of muscle. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? He's clearly got some biceps, there's a vein protruding, his abs are starting to become noticeable, and his chest is beginning to form. Also, he appears to have decently wide clavicles. The clavicles are how wide your shoulders are ultimately going to be. The wider your clavicles, the wider your shoulders are going to appear. And so he does already seem to be putting on a ton of muscle. In 2 weeks, look at the back. Are you kidding me? Look at the definition. This looks incredible. Guy could be competing on stage right now. I mean, look at the back. He's doing a back double bicep. It looks very good. He's very lean. You can see some detail. But the size that he put on in that amount of time, just don't believe this is natural. In general, there's no way this guy's natural. They have the same eyes as me. Well, perhaps I have laser eyes. I'm very good at determining body fat percentage. But what the general consensus is there's no way this guy is natural. And so what the people are demanding is a drug test. And so I would challenge him. Show us your blood work. You want to prove that you're natural? It's not all that hard. Hey, look at what my blood work shows. If his blood work shows his testosterone levels are through the roof, or perhaps his testosterone is in the tank, like Messiah Miranda. Remember he had 21 nanograms per deciliter and said, see, I'm not taking anything. 21! I was on test and trend. My freaking testosterone levels were 48. And so if your testosterone levels are crashed, if they're tanked, you're probably on something, and that's why your test levels are in the toilet. Also, we'll see perhaps certain things like your AST, ASL, they'll be elevated. Your HDL, the good cholesterol, it's going to be in the tank. Your LDL could be elevated. There's many signs of what is going to happen if you're in fact taking steroids. And so all he has to do is go to the doctor, get his blood work done, test everything. And if I examine it, I'm going to tell you, is the guy actually natural or is he in fact enhanced? That is exactly what I noticed. In 2 weeks, it looked like the guy had been training for 2 years. This is not normal. And so is it possible that he simply started his transformation while on a cycle and had both newbie gains and newly introduced steroids into his body? If you combine newbie gains with steroids, this is the kind of results you could expect with amazing genetics. If this guy is natural, it's perhaps the greatest before and after transformation of all time. I would love to see him prove us wrong. I want to believe that this guy is natural, but based on the evidence, the fact that he has gyno, it's simply too hard to believe. And what has happened in our past? Well, we've seen guys like, for example, Dylan McKnight. He says, trust me, bro, I'm natural. I haven't taken anything. And then years go by, later puts a video out and say, hey, I wasn't natural. I was taking Osterine.
Yeah, just over 3 years ago now, I took a SARM.
I hope for his sake and for the rest of us that this was done 100% natural, but I simply don't believe it. And so let me know in the comment section, do you believe this guy is natural or do you think he was enhanced? Can't wait to read the comments. Do you believe him or do you believe Coach Greg?